Imagine if a nutrient our body urgently needs could increase the risk of dying by 6% for every extra 100 milligrams per day. Sounds unsettling, doesn't it? A brand new study has investigated exactly this for choline. What's behind it, and what does this truly mean for our health and our diet? We're about to find out. Choline is an essential nutrient. This means our body can produce it in small amounts, but not enough to meet our needs. We must get it from food. Choline plays a key role in our liver function, normal brain development, nerve function, muscle movement, our energy metabolism, and healthy cell membranes. It's primarily found in foods like eggs, liver, meat, fish, soybeans, and also in some vegetables. For a long time, choline was considered unquestionably healthy. For example, it helps lower homocysteine levels, high levels of which are a risk factor for cardiovascular disease. But in recent years, studies have highlighted another aspect. Choline can be converted in the gut to trimethylamine, or TMA, which then becomes TMAO in the liver. And TMAO is linked to an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. So the question is, do the benefits outweigh the potential downsides of high choline intake for us? To gain more clarity, researchers have now published a new meta-analysis, published in the journal Nutrition Research in September 2024. They summarize the results of 6 large observational studies with a total of over 480,000 participants. The goal, to more closely examine the association between dietary choline and betaine intake and the risk of mortality. And the results are quite remarkable. The analysis showed that every additional intake of 100 milligrams of choline per day was associated with a 6% increased risk of all-cause mortality. The link was even clearer for mortality from cardiovascular diseases. Here, the risk increased by 11% per 100 milligrams of additional choline per day. These are significant numbers that should make us pay attention. The study also examined betaine, a nutrient related to choline found, for example, in wheat products and spinach. Here, the picture was less clear. No general link was found between betaine and all-cause mortality or cardiovascular mortality. However, a non-linear analysis showed an association between betaine intake in the range of 50 to 250 milligrams per day and an increased risk of stroke mortality. But how could this negative association arise? Researchers suspect the previously mentioned TMAO pathway plays a key role. Certain gut bacteria convert choline from food into trimethylamine, or TMA. This travels to the liver and is oxidized there to the well-known trimethylamine N-oxide, or TMAO. Elevated TMAO levels in the blood have long been associated with inflammation and the development of atherosclerosis, or hardening of the arteries, which in turn increases the risk of cardiovascular diseases. But before we now remove all choline-rich foods from our diet, the study authors themselves emphasize important limitations. First, it's a meta-analysis of observational studies. These can show associations but cannot definitively prove a cause and effect relationship. Other unmeasured factors, so-called confounders, could also play a role. Second, the number of included studies was relatively small, only 6, and there were differences between the studies which can affect the results. The data on choline is generally complex. There are also studies that show no negative effects or even positive effects of higher choline intake, for example, on cognitive function. The effect of choline might also depend on individual factors: genetics, the state of each individual's gut flora, and the rest of their diet. This makes blanket recommendations difficult. The researchers therefore explicitly call for further, well-designed studies to better understand the connections for all of us. So what does this mean practically for us and our diet? First, don't panic. This study is an important piece of the puzzle, but not the sole judgment on choline. Second, let's remember choline is essential. A deficiency is also problematic. Third, the key, as is often the case, probably lies in balance. Extremely high choline intake, especially from highly processed foods or isolated supplements, could be more critical than choline from natural MAO whole food sources as part of a balanced diet for our bodies. Let's focus on a diverse, plant-rich diet with moderate amounts of choline-rich foods like eggs or lean meat if we enjoy them. Let's pay attention to a healthy gut flora, as this influences the conversion to TMAO. And if we are unsure or have specific health conditions, it's best to talk to our doctor or a qualified nutritionist. They can best assess our individual situation. This new meta-analysis provides important indications that very high choline intake may be associated with increased health risks. However, it also underscores how complex nutritional science is and that we are constantly learning. It's not about demonizing individual nutrients, but about looking at the bigger picture. Let's stay curious and informed. What are your thoughts on this? Feel free to share them in the comments. Did this video help shed light on a complex topic? If so, we would greatly appreciate a thumbs up. Your support means a lot to us. Subscribe to our channel to receive regular expert health tips and analysis, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Finally, from the bottom of our hearts, we wish you a long, healthy, and happy life. Until next time.